Okay, and the other thing, in comparing this proposal with other proposals from other districts, Anne Arundel County Public Schools, for instance, does a 10-year strategic plan where they pay, I think it's in the range of $400,000 to $500,000, but it provides a deliverable of a 10-year strategic plan for every school in the system. So I'm curious as to the cost amount for this study when it is clearly limited to just the high schools. It seems a rather large expense compared to what other consultants have been able to provide to other districts.
Well, I don't know that we've ever done a study of this nature. It's certainly not a 10-year strategic plan, and that is the best estimate that the Department of Research Accountability Assessment, working with the Office of Purchasing, have provided.
And the last would be item 3. All in favor of item 3 moving forward, please raise your hand. Okay, thanks. So we will recommend items 1, 2, 4, and 5 from the Building and Contracts Committee, and item 3 will be discussed without recommendation from Building and Contracts.
And my point for that is I'm considering making an amendment to that contract before I would vote to affirm it.
I know tonight the board is going to be voting on the high school assessment study, and I wanted to ask the board to include 2 items that weren't in the scope of work so that whoever is awarded the contract can consider them. One is the very important feeding pattern of middle schools to high schools. We have ongoing construction projects in the Northwest area that are going to redistrict some of our middle schools in the Northwest area, as well as Ridgely Middle School, where I'm PTA president. And we would like the high school study to consider that, not to move kids to one middle school and then move them out from where they were originally designated in terms of high school. And I would say that because Ridgely Middle School feeds into 3 different high schools. We currently feed into Loch Raven High School, Towson High School, and Delaney High School. Second of all, I'd ask you to examine in the high school study, ask that the facilities, the age of the facility that's not in the scope of work, and the condition of the buildings be considered in the high school assessment. When they're planning, look at, well, if we move the kids here, yes, that may work, but what is the age, structure, and condition of that building that we're moving them into?
I had also wanted to incorporate adding to the scope. One of the things that we've recognized is we've gone through several redistrictings, as we've gone through several analyses of trying to deal with overcrowding, both overcrowding that is with us right now, but overcrowding that may happen in the future, also in trying to decide where to add seats. It's become clear that it should be better planned around the middle schools. So I would ask, as one of our stakeholders has already asked us to do, and I won't go for efficiencies, I won't review all of the reasons why it would make sense, but I think it's intuitive that if we're going to spend this money with this consulting group to do this study, that it should be around the middle schools as well, so that we don't have students that may be transitioning in elementary school to a different middle school, then back to a different high school, and that we can use our construction dollars more efficiently around the middle schools and the high schools, because there's several middle schools that are in play in this capital construction, including Golden Ring Middle School, including Pine Grove Middle School, including Perry Hall Middle School, where it's unclear what relief Perry Hall Middle School is going to get out of Northeast Area Middle School because of the Golden Ring Middle School.
Let's see if we get a second to that motion first before you argue in favor of it anymore. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. Now, is there additional comment you want to make?
If other people would like to comment.
All right. So if this contract was to expand from a high school study to a high school and a middle school study, would that require it to go back out to bid?
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's a question for Mr. Saris.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe
So,
that they would
any other
significantly
question or
expand
comment?
Which also means that we may not be able to meet the September deadline.
Very good. Any other questions or comments about the motion to amend to include middle school? Comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. One note, and that is going back a ways. When we first discussed the study, the original scope was a secondary study and secondary enrollment study. It did include middle and high schools, and this board did approve that
All right.
as the scope.
Any other questions or comments? The motion is to expand the scope of the contract from high school to both high school and middle school. All in favor of that expanded motion, please, expanded scope, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, it fails. Now, the motion on the table is contract N3, evaluation of high school capacity and enrollment. Any further discussion on it? All right. It's time for the question on N3. All in favor, please raise your hands. Mr. Uhlfelder abstains. The motion passes.